Part 125. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1241. A question suddenly occurred to me, and I asked, Tianqian, why are the gods we see just a ray of soul? Where is the true nature of the gods? This has been a problem that has troubled me for a long time. After hearing this, Su Tianqian shook his head slightly and said, I don't know either. Things have developed to this point, Su Tianqian should not hide it. Su Tianqian suddenly thought of something and said to me, Xiao Su, you must be careful about matters in the underworld. If you encounter any danger at that time, I will rush to rescue you as soon as possible. I looked at Su Tianxian's beautiful face and said, that's not possible. If you go to save me, what will happen to your inheritance? Su Tianqian smiled at me and replied, heritage is not as important as your safety. Besides, I might have left Yaokai by then. With Su Tianxian's character, if I really encountered any danger, she would probably rush to my side as soon as possible, even if it meant sacrificing her own life to save me. However, if Su Tianqian is also in danger, I think I will do the same. I hugged Su Tianqian gently and said, no matter what happens, you must ensure your own safety. Su Tianqian raised her head and looked at me quietly, her star-like eyes sparkling with crystal luster. She asked, Xiao Su, I said, if I really encounter any danger, or my life is not long, and it's still the kind that can't be saved, what will you do? I quickly reached out my hand, put it on her red lips, and said, don't say such silly things. You and I will live a good life. We will get married and have our children. We will work at sunrise and rest at sunset every day. We will have daily necessities. I am destined not to be ordinary now, but I am willing to return to ordinary and live like an ordinary person after everything is over. Su Tianqian said coquettishly, oh. You can't answer my question. Don't you know, girls in love will have random thoughts? I was stunned, and that was indeed what happened. I replied, if this kind of thing really happens, I am willing to go with you and be a pair of faithful mandarin ducks. Su Tianqian stretched out his hand, pinched my waist, and said, I don't want to be a miserable mandarin duck with you. I smiled, but I didn't notice the darkness flashing in Su Tianxian's eyes. I don't know how long it took, but Cai Dai still didn't come back, which made me a little worried. Su Tianqian said, don't worry, Dreamland is Cai Dai's home court, and nothing will happen to him or her. I nodded, and at this moment, there was a burning smell in the air. I asked with some confusion, can fire also occur in dreams? Su Tianqian also smelled the burning smell. Her expression changed slightly and she said, no. Someone broke into my dream. I instantly became alert, looked at Su Tianqian, and hurried towards the first floor of Jiyuntang. When the two of us arrived on the first floor and pushed open the door of Jiyuntang, we were completely stunned by the scene in front of us. The originally clear sky turned dark and dull, and a big hole appeared on the horizon. The edge of the big hole was burning with fierce flames, as if a piece of white paper had ignited a fire from the middle, and the fire spread to all sides. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1242. This is not just someone breaking into the dreamland, but also causing wanton destruction. I frowned, this dream was created by Su Tianxian's memory. If it is destroyed, wouldn't it mean that the memory will also be lost? I looked at Su Tianqian and asked what I was worried about. After hearing this, Su Tianqian said, don't worry, I have thought of this before creating the dream and have prepared in advance. Even if the dream disappears, I will not be affected at all. But Su Tianxian's words stalled, and I quickly asked, but what? She replied, but this intruder should be coming for you. I instantly understood what Su Tianqian meant. My soul is in a dream and my body is in the real world. As long as my soul is broken up in the dream, then naturally I will become a vegetative state in the real world. Su Tianqian snorted coldly and said, I want to see who attacks you today. At this moment, a familiar voice sounded in my ears. And, you are indeed here. When I heard this voice, my brain buzzed. It was him. It's the righteous God who was engaged to Su Tianqian on Penglai Island. Su Tianqian frowned and murmured in a low voice, why did he appear here? As soon as he finished speaking, a familiar figure flew over from not far away. I took a closer look and saw that it was the righteous God. He was suspended in mid-air, looking down at me coldly, his eyes full of viciousness and resentment. I really didn't expect you to dare to come here. I looked at him coldly. I don't know why, but I always feel that this righteous God is more powerful than what I have encountered before. Zheng Shen looked at Su Tianqian next to me, with jealousy in his eyes. Su Tianqian, you were engaged to me, and now you are still hanging out with this ant. What kind of ecstasy soup did he fill you with? Su Tianqian looked at him coldly and said, who am I with? Does it have anything to do with you? These words made Zheng Shen look crazy. I didn't expect that I, Yan Long, can't compare to a mortal. When I heard the word Yan Long, I was stunned on the spot. Yan Long, the son of Emperor Jun, is recorded in the Classic of Mountains and Seas and has the kingdom of Siu. Emperor Jun gave birth to Yan Long gave birth to Siu gave birth to longing for the soil, not having a wife, longing for a daughter, not having a husband. Eating millet and eating animals are the four birds. However, I suddenly realized one thing, that is, Yan Long is Di Jun's son, so isn't Xiao He also Di Jun's son? Put it this way, aren't Xiao He and Yan Long brothers? When Su Tianqian heard this, he still said calmly, in my eyes, you are not as good as him. As soon as these words came out, the anger in Yan Long's heart was completely ignited. A terrifying coercion erupted from his body, and this coercion frightened me greatly. In the human world, I can only enter the world with my soul, but here, I can use all my strength. Lu Su, let me see how you can escape this time. 100% strength, doesn't that mean that the person standing in front of me now is Yan Long's true body? A bold idea emerged in my mind. Could it be that the entities of those righteous gods are all in dreams? Yan Long swooped down, and his superego struck straight at him. Wherever he passed, walls collapsed, and houses collapsed. I quickly stretched out the Nine Eyes Heaven Realm, grabbed Su Tianxian's hand and disappeared. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1243. When Su Tianqian and I had just stood firm, we heard a loud noise coming from behind. I looked back and my pupils trembled slightly. A huge deep pit appeared where Yan Long landed, and the surrounding houses were instantly razed to the ground by the powerful residual force. I frowned. This Yan Long's strength is many times stronger than Penglai Xiandao. Yan Long in Penglai Immortal Island was just his soul, but now it is his body, which means he is a real god. Su Tianqian looked at me with a serious tone and asked, Xiao Su, are you okay? I smiled and replied, of course, I am your man. Yan Long stood up and looked back at me coldly. Although this Yan Long is strong, I am not jealous. It is absolutely impossible for me to explain here. I took out the evil suppressing seal and threw it directly into the sky. I need the formula with both hands and activate the 8-character mantra. The 8 golden inscriptions of Om, Ma, Ji, Mu, Ye, Sa, Li, and a burst out from the bottom of the evil suppressing seal, and then instantly grew in size in the air. Every word has great power and carries the supreme Dharma. The pressure it brings is no less than the pressure of 2 mountains on your shoulders. 8-character mantra. Yan Long shivered violently in pain and shouted in disbelief. The 8-character mantra contains the supreme Buddhist Dharma. Even gods will be afraid of them. Yan Long exuded terrifying power and wanted to use his own power to resist this 8-character mantra. Upon seeing this, I slowly raised my hand, my expression condensed, and I shouted angrily. Thunder comes. As soon as he finished speaking, the sky was filled with dark clouds, and thunder and lightning as thick as a bucket rolled among the dark clouds. I dropped my hand suddenly. The thunder hovering in the sky descended at an extremely fast speed. Everywhere you looked, there were thunder pillars. I have no control over the ability to speak the Dharma, but after studying for a long time, I found that the ability to speak the Dharma depends on your own strength. Those powerful immortals have a very small chance of mastering the ability to speak and follow the Dharma in their lifetime. However, they also use their own energy to attract strange phenomena from heaven and earth. Even if you just say the name of the formation will appear. You must know that whether you are casting a spell or a magic circle, you must arrange and seal it. To put it simply, there is a forward movement. When you are still setting up the formation, with just one word, the formation has already taken shape. As a result, you are at a disadvantage. If one day, my strength reaches a certain stage, it will be very simple to cause strange phenomena in the world. Now, of course, the step of pinching is omitted and the sky thunder is summoned directly. Boom! The thunder exploded, thunder shot out, and the vision was filled with a burst of white light. When the white light dissipated, I looked towards where Yan Long was. As I expected, thunder of this magnitude did little harm to him. However, my behavior clearly angered him. Yan Long shouted angrily, transformed into a huge blue dragon, and began to attack and hit the 8-character mantra crazily. I, who controlled the Beza mantra, also felt a little uncomfortable. Su Tianqian stretched out his slender hand, and slowly formed seals with his slender white fingers. To be honest, Su Tianxuan's seals were so elegant and stunning. Bundle. Su Tianqian pinched his sword finger and pointed it at Yan Long under the 8-character mantra. As soon as he finished speaking, countless golden mantras appeared in the sky and circled around Yan Long. As soon as the mantras appeared, Yan Long instantly lost the ability to move. I looked at Su Tianqian in surprise. Her strength seemed to be stronger. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1244. It seems that inheritance is of great benefit to Su Tianqian. Not only her strength, but also the way she feels to me has changed. The word fairy can no longer be used to describe her. She seems to be the purest existence in the world. Even if she is compared with Bai Lian, she is incomparable. If she didn't like me, like holding hands, it would give me a very sinful feeling. Su Tianqian noticed my gaze, tilted his head and looked at me doubtfully, and asked, "Why do you have such an expression?" I smiled awkwardly and said, "It's nothing." Yan Long was restrained by the 8-character mantra and Su Tianxuan's magic and could not move. Su Tianqian said to me, "My body is not here. If I were here, you and I could still fight it together. I will take you to find Cai Dai now, and then you and Cai Dai will leave here together." I looked at Su Tianqian with some worry and asked, "If you leave the dream you created, it won't have any impact on you, right?" Su Tianqian shook his head and replied, "It's okay, you don't have to worry about me. Since I've come to see you, I'm confident I can leave here." Now that Su Tianqian has said so, I feel a lot more at ease. When Yan Long saw me talking to Su Tianqian, the jealousy on his face almost drove him crazy. He let out a dragon roar that resounded throughout the world, and continued to break away from the shock of the 8-character mantra. This made me a little overwhelmed. Su Tianqian said, "Withdrawing the 8-character mantra, my magic can also restrain him for a period of time." I nodded, withdrew the 8-character mantra, and left here with Su Tianxian. We returned to the dream world, and there was a gloomy scene in front of us. The colorful butterfly did not know where it had gone. Where should I look? At this moment, a familiar voice suddenly sounded in my mind. Lu Su, I advise you to leave here immediately. They're coming. This is the voice of the Qing Emperor in the soul-locking tower. I was stunned and asked, who is coming? King Di said to me, don't worry about it for now. You must leave here as soon as possible. They have no way to leave this world. As long as you leave, you will be safe. I shook my head and replied, I won't leave. What should come will come sooner or later. I haven't found Cai Dai yet, and I will never leave here. King Di sighed helplessly and said, that's all, even if you see them, they can't do anything to you for the time being. I am very confused in my heart, who are they mentioned by King Di? Cai Dai and I had signed a contract. I took a deep breath and felt where Cai Dai was. Her breath was very weak, not that he was injured, but because the distance between her and me was too far, the perception was not that strong. However, at least there is a direction. I took Su Tianxuan's hand and rushed towards Cai Dai. The feeling between Cai Dai and me became stronger and stronger. She seemed to know my location and was rushing towards me. But before he had gone far, a powerful force came from behind him. Su Tianxian and I stopped at the same time and looked back, only to see a blue dragon rushing towards us at an extremely fast speed. He couldn't escape by running, so he could only drag Yan Long and wait for Cai Dai to come back. Only she can take me away from here. I turned my right hand and Jingxiao was held in my hand. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1245. Without any hesitation, I directly unsealed the 2 meridians. In an instant, I felt an extremely powerful force running wildly inside my body. I cast 9 Eyes Heavenly Realm and disappeared with my sword in place. When it reappeared, it was already in front of Yan Long. I swung it out without any hesitation. The dragon energy in my body spread along my wrist to Jingxiao, and a sword energy formed by the awe-inspiring energy struck towards Yan Long. With a puff, the sword energy passed through Yan Long's body. A bloody sword mark was made on his huge dragon body. Yan Long turned into a human body and stood in front of me. The sword marks on his chest were healing at a speed visible to the naked eye. Lu Su, I didn't expect that you have made such rapid progress during this period. However, in the face of absolute strength, everything you do is in vain. Yan Long pushed towards me, and I felt a very strong force coming towards me. Just when I was about to use Jinglian to defend myself, a beautiful figure flashed in front of my eyes. Su Tianxian waved a palm and faced Yan Long. A powerful force exploded around the 2 people. Yan Long and Su Tianxian took 2 steps back. Su Tianxian, every time you have to protect him, I am clearly your husband. Su Tianxian looked at him coldly and said, Lu Su and I have worshipped heaven and earth and are already called husband and wife. Why do you say this? With these words, Yan Long's facial expression began to distort, and his eyes shot out with fierce anger. He gritted his teeth and looked at me and Su Tianxian. Okay. In this case, I will kill you both. You will never be able to be together forever. As soon as he finished speaking, Yan Long rushed over again. Su Tianxian stood with his hands behind his back, his white clothes fluttering, and his eyebrows were just indifferent. She and Yan Long fought together, and their strength was evenly matched. You must know that when Su Tianxian faced Yan Long on Penglai Immortal Island, he had no resistance at all. And now, I can actually fight with him. This inheritance is indeed important to Su Tianxian. At this moment, the cry of colorful butterflies came from behind me. Lu Su! Lu Su! I'm back. I felt happy, turned around and saw colorful butterflies running towards me quickly. I looked at Su Tianqian and joined the fight between the two. Su Tianqian was able to fight Yan Long in 2 moves at first, but as time went by, she seemed to be a little unable to do what she wanted. If Su Tianqian truly accepted the inheritance and his true body was here, then Yan Long might also suffer. Su Tianqian and I teamed up to temporarily repel Yan Long. Colorful butterfly also happened to come to my side. Sister Tianqian! Nabi shouted. Su Tianqian smiled at Cai Dai and said, Kaidi, I'm sorry, my sister doesn't have time to reminisce with you. You should take Xiao Su out of here first. Good. At this moment, King Di's voice sounded in my ears. They're coming. As soon as he finished speaking, a frightening sense of oppression came from all directions. Yan Long laughed at me and said, Lu Su, you can't escape. I looked around and saw countless figures rushing toward me from all directions in the west. King Di anxiously said to me, Quick! Let me out. I hesitated again and released King Di. King Di appeared in front of me, his face was very gloomy. I asked, Who are they? King Di glanced at me and replied, See for yourself. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1246. While we were talking, those figures had already arrived around me. I looked intently, my pupils trembling violently. I saw a lot of familiar people. No, I can't say they are people, I should say they are gods. Emperor Donghua, Queen Mother of the West, Xing Tian, Master Zhang, countless gods were suspended in the air, looking at me condescendingly. The gods are all here. I have always been curious about one thing, and that is why God always comes to the world as a soul. And through the words of Queen Mother of the West and Emperor Donghua, I learned that the gods were imprisoned in one place. In other words, it is restricted by some kind of force. I am very confused about where the gods will be, and what kind of power can restrain the gods. And now I know, all the gods from ancient times to the present, actually exist in this world. No wonder King Di had such a serious expression on his face. Su Tianqian stood in front of me, looking very ugly. All the gods looked at me up and down, with different expressions in their eyes, including disgust, surprise, indifference, and even fear in the eyes of some gods. At this moment, a loud voice suddenly sounded. Lu Su, you finally found this place. The voice came from all directions, and it was impossible to tell where the speaker was. Facing the gods, I am not afraid at all. The worst I can do is die here. I replied, Who are you? The voice came again. It doesn't matter who I am, but you. In what form and posture will you pursue your so-called freedom this time? The owner of this voice is really mysterious. My memory is unclear, so I don't know how to answer this question. At this time, a god said, This is his last life. Kill him. After killing him, we can sit back and relax. As soon as these words came out, many gods echoed, Kill him. The reincarnation of all eternity has shaken the foundation of our God's mansion. If we let him leave, the consequences will be disastrous. At this time, King Di took a step forward and raised a sneer at the corner of his mouth. You guys are as ugly as ever. These words made the atmosphere on the field suddenly become a little dull. King Di continued, Don't you know why you are here? If you can really fulfill your clerical duties, how could you be sealed here? Queen Mother 11 suddenly spoke and said, Don't forget, you are also one of us. King Di sneered and said, Yes. I am indeed one of you, but I woke up quickly and didn't want to join in with you, but what did you do? Destroy my body and seal my soul in the soul of Mount Tai. Is this what a god is supposed to do? The gods were speechless. The voice sounded again and asked, Lu Su, can I give you another chance to restore your status as a god and continue to exist in this world as a god? The temptation to become a god is indeed great. But after experiencing so many things, I also know what I want to pursue. I replied, my name is Lu Su. I am not the great Emperor Ziwei. I am a person of flesh and blood who is willing to invite you. Oh? So what do you think you mean? Are you going to continue to fight us to the end? Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1247. I looked around, looked at the gods coldly, and said, everything I do is from my own heart. Resistance. It doesn't exist. If you stay here, well, I won't cause trouble. As soon as these words came out, the place fell into deathly silence. I faced off against the gods like this without any fear in my heart. Queen Mother 11 said with a gloomy face, a human dares to say such arrogant words in front of God. Last time in Yaokai, you were lucky enough to escape, but today, I will kill you. As she spoke, Queen Mother 11 waved her palm towards me, and a tyrannical force struck through the air. My expression condensed, and I activated the pure lotus mark on my palm. The holy white light condensed into a huge white lotus around me. Just listen to the bang. The two forces collided with each other, and the white lotus shadow was instantly dispersed. However, I was not injured because the white lotus shadow protected me. Just when Queen Mother 11 was about to take action again, a careless voice suddenly sounded. Hey! Why is it so lively here? Come on, let me see who is here. A figure walked slowly towards the side. I followed the sound, and with just one glance, I knew the identity of that person. Zhao Mian. He actually came here too. Zhao Mian came to me and looked me up and down. He still wore a bronze mask on his face, but under the mask, he had the exact same face as mine. Your Majesty, long time no see. Zhao Mian greeted me very enthusiastically. I glanced at him and said, why are you here? Let me think about it. Zhao Mian pretended to think, and then suddenly patted his head. I was sleeping just now, and I fell asleep without knowing it. And then I came here. What a coincidence. Entered by accident? I won't believe his nonsense. Zhao Mian looked at the gods and sneered, hey, yo, Queen Mother of the West. Emperor Dong Hua. Master Zhang. You are all here. What? Do you want to bully my majesty? Zhao Mian's appearance made the gods look a little ugly. I'm not talking about you, you are too shameless, aren't you? They are all gods, and they are so close to an ordinary person. If I were you, I would be disgusted and embarrassed. Queen Mother 11 said in a cold voice, this matter has nothing to do with you. Zhao Mian shook his head and replied, no, it does matter. If you were here and killed His Majesty, I would die too, so give me face and let it go. The gods looked at each other and said, who do you think you are? Give you face? Do you deserve it? Zhao Mian pointed at the talking god and said, hey, hey, hey. You are a god. How can you speak so vulgarly? I don't know what Zhao Mian's purpose is here. Kill me or something. Zhao Mian slowly took off his mask, revealing a face that was exactly the same as mine. He raised a joking smile and said, I know you won't give me face, but you seem to have forgotten that he had a lifetime, but it was so bad I will drive you all out in one fell swoop. The life Zhao Mian mentioned should be the negative memory of my awakening. As soon as these words came out, the faces of the gods turned a little ugly. I don't know who the god said, don't be afraid, Lu Su's current strength has not reached that level, as long as we kill him, we can avoid future troubles. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1248. No. 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 Zhao Mian said something in English, looked at me and said, "Do you know why it turned out like that in that life? Because, as long as I am here, you also know my identity. If I choose to return to his body now, will you still be there? Are you standing here talking?" Hearing this sentence, I frowned. "I have determined Zhao Mian's identity, that is my evil soul. He said that in that life, he returned to his true form, which was why I almost killed the gods in that life. But why, Zhao Mian is back. Logically speaking, whether it is an evil soul or 3 souls and 7 souls, after resurrecting, it will be integrated with the original body, unless it is abandoned voluntarily. That means that in that life, I took the initiative to abandon Zhao Mian. But why would I do this? Zhao Mian is my enemy, how could I let Zhao Mian live?" The gods were silent. It is somewhat inappropriate to say that they are gods, because some existences cannot be called gods, but can only be called immortals. For example, the white, gray and yellow ancestors of fox willows are all here. That is to say, after attaining enlightenment and becoming an immortal, you will not go to heaven, but here. What kind of existence is this dream world? Zhao Mian slowly looked at the gods and said, "I don't want my plan to be ruined, and you don't want that to happen again, so everyone should take a step back and treat what happened today as if it never happened." Quiet, deathly quiet, and I don't know how long it took before the loud voice sounded again. "Zhao Mian, even if you don't say anything, we have no intention of taking action against Lu Su. He can leave, but you also know our purpose of letting him live, so don't forget the agreement you made with us." Zhao Mian smiled and said, "That's natural." After Yan Long heard this, he immediately became unhappy. He shouted at the voice, "No. We can't let Lu Su and Su Tianqian leave here. Although Lu Sujosha has not returned to the palace, it is enough for us. Moreover, Su Tianqian is also a crucial step in the plan." The voice sounded again, this time with endless anger. "Shut up." Yan Long quickly closed his mouth, as if he was afraid of the owner of the voice. The gods didn't say anything and turned to leave. Yan Long looked at me fiercely. If looks could kill, I would have died tens of millions of times. After the gods left, the invisible sense of oppression that filled the air disappeared instantly. I lowered my head and fell into silence. Although I am safe, I am not happy at all. Those words just drove into my heart like nails. What agreement did Zhao Mian have with the gods? Moreover, the gods said that I was part of the plan and had to wait until Zhu She returned to the palace. What on earth was going on with all this? What I know is still too little. Su Tianqian suddenly held my hand and said to me, "Xiao Su, don't be unhappy. I will help you find out what is bothering you. All you have to do is live well." Su Tianxuan's gentle words seemed to have magic power, which instantly made my depressed heart feel much calmer. I nodded and replied, "I understand." I looked at Zhao Mian and asked, "Why do you want to help me?" Zhao Mian put on his mask, shrugged and said, "Who said I was helping you? You have your plan, I have my plan, and the premise of my plan is that you cannot die. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1249. It's just using each other. Zhao Mian said. I fell silent. Every time I find out some truth, the new mystery is like a fog, instantly overturning the truth I have worked so hard to pursue. This feeling of being controlled and manipulated is really unpleasant. Zhao Mian said nothing more and walked slowly in one direction. I didn't stop it. Cai Dai came to Su Tianqian, raised her head and said, "Sister Tianqian, you scared me to death just now. Can you comfort your sister Cai Dai?" Su Tianqian smiled, squatted down, stretched out her white jade hands, and said softly to the butterfly's little head, "Okay, okay." Cai Dai chuckled, hugged Su Tianqian directly, and said, "Sister Tianqian, Cai Dai misses you so much." I couldn't help but raise the corners of my mouth slightly while watching this scene. Kaidi suddenly asked, "Sister Tianqian, when can you give birth to a child for Lu Su?" Ah! Su Tianxuan's expression froze, she glanced at me shyly, and said hesitantly, "Why do you, a child, worry about this kind of thing?" Kaidi was still reluctant, holding Su Tianxuan's arm and acting coquettishly. When I saw this, I quickly said, "Kaidi, children should not inquire about adults' affairs. Besides, don't you think you are a bit dazzling here?" Cai Dai was stunned for a moment, then said angrily, "Lu, how dare you say that I am a light bulb? I didn't say that." Colorful butterfly rushed up to teach me a lesson, but I dodged it. After a while, Cai Dai sat aside angrily, not looking at Su Tianqian and me. I said to Su Tianqian, "Okay, Tianqian, it's time to say goodbye." Su Tianqian looked at me quietly, nodded slightly, and said, "Well, Xiao Su, I will investigate Zhao Mian and the gods' plan clearly, so you don't have to worry. Also, you must be careful about matters in the underworld. As for the 4 ancestors of zombies, I believe you can solve them." I gently took Su Tianqian into my arms and said, "I understand." Su Tianqian murmured, "Today's events are indeed beyond my expectations. Although the gods have retreated, Yan Long's obsession with me is too deep. I am afraid that after I pass on the inheritance, he will definitely come to you and me again trouble." I looked at Su Tianqian and said with a smile, "How could you talk so calmly about your relationship with another man?" Su Tianqian rolled his eyes and replied, "If you are in my heart, other men will naturally not take a look. On the contrary, it's you, you have so many beauties and confidants, how can you see me jealous?" I smiled awkwardly and said, "Are you jealous?" Su Tianqian nodded and replied, "Of course I will, but it's good that you know you have me in your heart. However, if you have an affair with other women while I'm away, don't blame me for being angry and leave you when the time comes. Don't come looking for me." The words were obviously jealous, but they came out so cutely from Su Tianxuan's mouth. Naturally, I won't be honest with other women, because I only have Su Tianqian in my heart. Su Tianqian called Cai Dai over to say goodbye to me. "Xiao Su, when you go back, you must miss me, and when I end my inheritance, you must come to pick me up." "Good." I waved goodbye to Su Tianqian. Kaidi grabbed my hand and shouted to Su Tianqian, "Goodbye, Sister Tianqian. When you come back, you must give me a baby." "What kind of baby will I give you?" Sky Coffin. Author, Qing Nian Wanbao. Chapter 1250. I looked at Cai Dai in confusion. Kaidi snorted softly and said, "Don't talk to me, I hate you. This little girl is still angry because I just talked about her light bulb." Su Tianqian smiled and said, "Let's go." Kaidi and I nodded, and then left the dreamland. When he woke up again, he had already mastered Ji Yuntang. Kaidi has found Fen Yingying's soul, and now I have to return Fen Yingying's soul to her body so that she can wake up. However, before that, I have one more thing to ask Nadia. "Kaidi, let me ask you, why are the gods sealed in dreams?" Cai Dai shook her head and replied, "Dreamland is a world, just like the underworld on Earth. I don't know why they are there. Also, Dreamland is a very complex and fantastic place that cannot be speculated with common sense." I nodded, "That's right. The dream world is the same as the real world. What exists in the real world will also exist there. To put it simply, dreams and the underworld are the same, they are separate worlds. But why were those gods sealed there? This is one thing I can't figure out. Since I can't figure it out, I simply don't think about it anymore, so I'd better get the immediate things done first. I sent Fen Yingying's soul back into her body. 5 minutes later, Fen Yingying slowly opened her eyes and looked around blankly. What's wrong with me? I replied, you raised a brat and lost your soul, so you are here. My sudden voice made Fen Yingying jump. She curled up at the foot of the bed and said to me in horror, who are you? I didn't talk nonsense to her. I called her dad and asked him to tell the story exactly. After Fen Yingying heard this, she was stunned on the spot. She whispered in a low voice, raising a kid. I didn't raise a kid. When I heard this, I frowned slightly and asked, you don't even know what you did. Fen Yingying shook her head and replied, I didn't raise a kid. I asked again, where did that spiritual tablet come from? Fen Yingying thought for a while and replied, that was given to me by a friend of mine. I raised a sneer at the corner of my mouth and said, that friend of yours is really interesting. He gave you spiritual tablets, and so do you. You accept any gift. Fen Yingying looked a little embarrassed, and she replied, I was very interested in these things, so I stopped it immediately, but I didn't know anything about feeding the kid after that. I looked at Fen Yingying's expression and saw that she was not lying. It seemed that her friend was not an ordinary person. I asked about Fen Yingying's friend. She told me that it was one of her best friends from medical school, and they became friends because they were both interested in the supernatural. Medical school? I asked, then do you know the abandoned medical school building in your school? Fen Yingying nodded and replied, of course I know. I have been to the charnel house of that hospital with my friend before, but there was nothing in it. After saying this, Fen Yingying's expression froze, and then she showed a look of pain. She stretched out her hands to cover her head, and started to cry in pain. Kaidi hurriedly stepped forward, stretched out her hand and gently covered Fen Yingying's head, and said, don't worry, she is recalling the memory that disappeared.